Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blender for Second Life. My name is Shelly, and I will be your guide through learning Blender for Beginners for Second Life. SecondLife.com is a virtual world where creators meet gamers and create clothing, shoes, furniture, the landscapes, and many other things associated with living in a virtual world. It's really a great opportunity to design there, and you can make real life money. So, um, I'm going to be teaching what I know um, as far as Blender is concerned and how you can use Blender to create for the Second Life virtual platform. Okay, when you first open Blender, you'll see this splash screen. I use 3.6 point 19, and this is the one I'll be teaching from because it's the one I learned on. But if you go to blender.org, and I used to have it up on the screen. Let me go get it for y'all. If you go to blender.org, this is the screen that comes up, and you can go to downloads. Then over here, you want to go to releases, and this is the series that's out now, the 4 series. So you can go to this series and get the newest blender. But for now, because I'm utilizing 3.6, I want you to go get this one. But you can also download the other ones if you want to. Like the newest one is this one, 4.4. And you can mess around in there once you get the hang of the graphic interface. Okay? So what you want to do is, I don't really mess around with too much of this, but you'll recognize that mine says recent files. That's because whenever you open Blender, whatever you've been working on, at least 5 or 6 will show up here to see if you want to just click those and go back to it. But normally you have a new file, and that's the general file. And what you'll find in here, which is completely gone right now, because I didn't have a new Blender to open, but usually there's a cube here, and a camera, which is going to be right inside of here because everything lands at the axis origin. So when you first add something, you won't see it if something is covering this area. But usually when you open up Blender, you have a cube, you have a camera, and you have a light source. Hit the letter G, bring that out. These 3 things are usually what you see when you open Blender. Everything that you click has an orange outline. See that? I'm left clicking to access each of these individual items. And when you do that, they turn orange. This is called the viewport layout, the 3D viewport. Everything that's inside the 3D viewport lands over here in the scene collection. Each of these areas has its own parameters. The first thing you do when you go into Blender and you open it up and it has these 3 things, you get rid of them. Why, I don't know, but that's what I was taught. So I'm going to get rid of the cube. I'm going to get rid of the light source. By pressing the letter X, you get this delete option. The letter X brings that up. And letter X and delete it. And so you're left with an empty viewport. Right now, we're in what you call perspective view. Over here, it's a graph. If you hit it, you go into orthographic view, which is like If you hit the number one, you'll be front facing in orthographic view. If you want to go back to perspective, which shows you the grid in 3D, you click your middle mouse button and you move it around like that. For our purposes today, I'm going to bring in a mannequin body that I use to develop clothing on. You import things into Blender, or you can drag and drop things into Blender. For this demonstration, I'm going to import. You import, I'm going to import a wavefront object. I'm going to go to my files and look for one that's available. Let me see. I'm going to go get the Lara body to work on. I have a mannequin that I use as an object. They call them OBJs. Okay. Um, I'm going to get this one. And then, well, I bought in a dress. That's not what I wanted to do, but I'm going to go take this, take your X, get rid of that, and go back out there and import the right kind of file. Let me see what I could find. I thought I had a Lara body in here that I could show you all. Um, hmm, Let me check. Excuse how long it's taking. I should have laid this stuff out for you all before I started. Here's one. This is a Maitreya body. We'll use that. Well, here's the one right here, the mannequin, Lara X mannequin. Okay. So you import it, and as you can see, it's just no feet. If I had feet, it'd be over here. No, this is an empty body. Most of the bodies you use in Second Life to develop clothing comes with what you call a developer's kit. But this one is what I like to use without the developer's kit, just to design on. So we'll leave that body here while we go over the viewport. At the top of the viewport, you'll find File, Edit, Render, Windows, Help, where you can go to the Help menu and find the Blender manual. If you are so inclined to go and get it, this is where it is. Um, these viewports are available up here. You have layout, UV editing, shading, animation. In case like if you wanted to animate objects, you use this timeline right here to do so. But more of the time, mine is always in layout or UV editing. And we'll talk about what UV editing is along with creating objects. Okay. Underneath this area is your modes. Like right now, we're in object mode. The object selected is the Lara X body. It's over here. Everything in the viewport, like I said earlier, shows up over here in the scene collection. This is your scene. This is the collection it's in. Every collection is like a little tree. So you could close it and it tells you that we're using the Lara X dev kit body. When you open it, it tells you what it has. This is its data properties, this little triangle right here. And it must have something right here too. So we'll look down here. Whatever's up here, you can find the parameters for it down in this section. So if this dev kit has this triangle, that means data properties. If you open the data properties, it shows that the Lara kit data properties. It's UV maps, what it has in there, its color attributes, its face maps. It's not looking like it has too much down here, but it does show that you can go to its data properties. Its geometry is down here and so forth. Its material, we would go down to the material mode right here and see that it does have a material um, applied to it. So, in order to see what material is applied to it, you would go up here. These are called the shaders. These one, two, three, four, five different areas right here is the shaders. So you would go to the material preview to see what's applied, and you notice that the body got extremely white. That's because in the material section, this base color is white. If I was to click it and mess with these colors, these are the parts where you get your hue, but over here you get your saturation. So you would use the sidebar to change the color of how you would want your body to look. I tend to use a little browner body because things show up much better on the body and it's not so hard on the eyes. So this material is now associated in this color to this body from this scene collection. And we could close this out and the tree is like out of the way. If I didn't want this dev kit, this body in my visual, I could just turn off this eye and it would be gone for now. And when I need it, I turn it back on. So that's what's in this dev kit's tree. Data and a material, which is O1. I could name the material since I'm in here. Like when you add a material, and I must have added the material at one time because it's right there, but I didn't name it. You just click the name down here, and you name it. I'll name it Brown Girl. Okay. So now that material is associated with this body. Right here, you have your modes, and inside these modes are different ways you can manipulate this object. Right now, we're in object mode. If we click this and we go to the next one, that takes us to sculpt mode. And you'll notice to the side over here, if you click the letter T, let me turn on my CAS keys so you all can see what I'm doing as we go along. Okay, my screen CAS keys. All right. So if you hit the letter T, you'll see the tools that pop up that are in connection with each of these modes. If you want to, you can uh, hover over this area right here um, and pull it out. And you'll see your tools more. If you pull them out again, like I like to do, you see the names of the tools. This is associated with edit mode. All of these tools have something to do with editing your object. You notice that the object now has um, faces on it. In edit mode, you have vertices. That's these right here. That's called a vertex when it's one. And vertices if it's more than one. You have edges, which are these. And you have faces, which are these. So in edit mode, you could hit one, you could hit one, two, or three to go from vertices to edges to faces. And these tools down here manipulate all of this part of the body that you're working on. If you have more than one object in your viewport, you would have to go back to object mode and click it. I'm going to add something to show you what I'm talking about. Here is the add button. You go in here to get mesh, curves, and all kinds of things that you might want to work with once you start learning Blender. Right now, we're going to add a mesh cube. It's very large, okay? The average body in Second Life, if you go over here, if you hit the N panel, N as in Nancy, this is what brings out the different views over here. So you want to I'm on screencast keys now because I went over here and I got the screencast keys. But what I want you to do is go way up. You can hold down your middle mouse button to scroll up and down this area right here. What I want you to do is go up to item. And if you click the body, you see that the scale is one by one by one. But if you click the square, you'll see that dimensions are a lot higher. It's got the same scale, but the dimensions are much higher than when we hit this. These dimensions are 2 by 2 by 2, but the body is 1.26, 129, 302. I don't want to mess with these because this body has to stay this size in order to build on and take it back to Second Life. But this is extremely large compared to the body in Second Life. So what you want to do is hit the S key, and when you hit the S key, you get these. See this little black arrow, and you can move it down with your mouse, click, and then use the G key to move it over. In order to move it straight, instead of it doing like this, you would hit G and X, and it will move it on the X axis. These are the X, this is the X axis, and this is the Y axis. Okay, that's the way it's built. Let me see, I'm going to show you number one. You hit number one, you in the front. Remember, that's orthographic view. And you see the X axis, and you see the Z axis. It also shows you in this little gizmo, the X axis goes that way, the Z goes this way. If we hit the number three, you get a side view. And that's why you can now see your Y axis. When before, when we were in the front, we saw, when we hit number one, we saw our X axis. And Z is always up and down. Okay? So you can hit your N key again to get rid of that panel. So over here, now that we have two different things in the viewport, we can go back by hitting our middle mouse button. We can go back to our view. When you hit the middle mouse button, you can just zoom around like that. The middle mouse button zooms out and in by scrolling it either out or in, depending on your mouse. You also, if you hold down Shift and your middle mouse button, you can go back and forth like this, panning. That's what that's called. And you can hit your middle mouse button to go around. Okay. But right now, we select um, the body. If we go into edit mode, we're working with the body. In order to work with this um, square, see, it won't even turn orange when I click it. In order to work on the square, we have to go back to object mode and click it so it can become the active object in the scene. Okay? Our cursor is where things land right here. It shows you where things are. You can click all over the viewport and it'll follow your cursor. Your cursor will follow where you go, in other words. If you want to return it to the origin where it was in the middle, you hit Shift S and you can tell your cursor to go home by saying cursor to world origin and it'll snap right there. Okay? If I wanted this box over here to return to the world origin, I would hit the box first, hit Shift S, and turn selection to grid. Well, actually, I would do Shift S, cursor to world origin, Shift S, selection to cursor, and then everything will go back to the cursor and the world origin where it landed, so things would be even. So when I did hit a 1 and one front face, everything would be lined up again. Okay, because things can get all over the place when you're working with more than one object. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the G and move this out of the way again on the X so it can stay straight. Okay. And the way I was moving everything was to hit the G and then the origin that I wanted it on. In other words, X. That would make it go left to right. If I hit G, Y, it'll go back and forth on the Y axis. If I hit G, Z, it'll go up and down. And it's constrained. No matter what I do, it won't get off of those X's. Okay? Now, the next uh, tool down we have is the move tool. Now, we were already moving things around with the G and its axis, G, X, G, Y, G, Z. But the move tool, you get the gizmo where you can use the arrows to constrain up, down, left, right, or back and forth with the green. And it'll constrain to those axes by using the arrows. Now, the rotate tool also has its own gizmo. But if we were up in the select box, and we wanted the rotate tool, we could just use the letter R and then its axis, like X, and we'll roll it around on the X axis. Okay? If we wanted to roll it around on the Y axis, we use RY, and it'll go around the Y axis. Okay? Or we could do the Z axis by just saying RZ, and we'll go around in the center like that on a Z axis. Okay, so when we go down here to rotate, you get the rotate gizmo instead. So you can use the blue for the Z. We can use the green for the Y, and we use the red for the X axis. And if we hit Control S again, we can just take selection to cursor, go back there, and we can actually delete this and add another one so we can have a fresh one. Remember, when we add anything, it's going to go directly to the origin, which is where the cursor is located right now. So we're going to add us another mesh cube. And we're going to hit S to scale it down, GX to move it over. Okay, so we got us a fresh cube. On to the scale. Now, when we scale this down, we hit S. Okay, like S. And we went up and down with the arrow. But there's a scaled gizmo also. You can scale this way if you have the gizmo. On the X axis, you can scale Y. Well, Z, I'm sorry. You can scale Z on the Z axis. If you use your middle mouse button to turn it around, you can scale on the Y axis. I actually like to use one that I found recently that I didn't really pay attention to. It's called the cage. Hmm. I wonder why it's not on here. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. Here it is. The cage came up. So the cage, you actually, when you click it, you have to click it. Don't be like me and not click your object. When you get the cage, I like it because it has these handles all over. It's like you can move it in different edges, but it won't affect the whole piece. It'll just do the face that the handle is on. Whereas the other one, the regular scale, it'll see how it does both sides at the same time when you scale it. Now that's good for some things, but I find for clothing and shoes, um, and certain objects like jewelry, I find that this cage has is better because you have more control on the actual side you're using. Now, if you want to be able to do corners, look, see it goes from the corner that you're touching like that. See that? So that's the scale. Now, transform gives you all of them. You get the move, you get the rotate, right? And you get the scale all in one. And that comes in handy when you're working with multiple objects and you want to flick from one thing to another. You need this to be more compact. Annotate, that's the next one. You can actually write. Um, let's see, we can say hello. And it's 3D. See that? I haven't used this really much, but it comes in handy for things like if you want to create signs, you can add geometry to it to make it fatter or whatever. And inside this annotate, there's also an eraser that you could just erase it away. It's got quite a few parameters inside of here, selections. You got the line, the poly, and an eraser. Um, a lot of these, one, two, I think it's four of them, have a little box to the side. See this little, like this little triangle. If you hit that, like in the select box, you hit it, you get a drop down. Let me try to get it to come out. Okay, and this way you can change the way you select. You can either have a circle select, a lasso select, tweak it, or a box select. And we'll be doing those things as we create. And the measure I rarely use, but you can measure anything um, in this viewport. Let me get rid of this. Like this box. Let's bring it up. The move tool, bring it up a little bit. Go to the front. And you notice that it's good to do orthographic view every now and then because when I brought it up, I had no idea it was that far above the line. So that's a way to bring things in order. So the, the measure, you can just click on the edge, take it over, and stop, and it'll tell you exactly what's, the meters are across here. Okay. Um, So that comes in handy, I guess, when you're building houses or uh, different kinds of things. But I don't use it yet. Okay. All right. Now this right here is kind of cute too. I like this one here. This tool, if you click it, you have all the different, not all of them, but you got a lot of different mesh in here. And the way it works is, let's stay on the cube since no, let's do a cone. When you click it, you see this shadow like a grid. It's like a grid. And if I go on top of this box and click and drag and then pull up, I get a cone. See that? And I could do it on the side like this. Click, drag, and come out. Wait a minute. Click, drag, s- and you gotta let it go and then come out. See? And then you can like manipulate over here I can make one. Click, drag, manipulate the width, how how round you want it, and you let it go. This one stopped. I'm a control Z. Remember that your control Z is your magic button. You don't have to stick with anything. You could just say control Z. It's no mistakes. If you don't like something, control Z and get rid of it. So this you can just click and drag and then go up. You got to let it go in order to go up. And then I have my cone. that I added to my scene. So you can add all kinds of mesh to your scene from this specific place, and it could like, okay, let's go get a cylinder. So if I click and drag, let it go, and then pull it up, and there's my cylinder on top of there. Okay, so we want to get rid of some of this, clean up our scene a little bit. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay, so now in edit mode, that's where all the fun begins. In edit mode, everything becomes where we're on our cube right now, because I'm not going to edit this body, but I will be building on that body. But we're going to use this cube to learn how to use some of these tools right here. And like I said, if you hover over here, if yours is like this, you can pull it out once, then you can pull it out again. And if the tools get in your way, the letter T hides them, and the letter T brings them back out. Okay, so down here after measure, in the edit mode, you get all these other tools to play with. So extrude tool, this tool actually, okay, first of all, you want to always recognize whether or not you're on vertices, edges, or faces. And right now, use the select box, we're on faces. So we want to select a face. We're going to select the top face and go to the extrude tool. When you get the extrude tool, you get this little plus. And if you pull it up, it will do exactly that. It will extrude an object. But as soon as you stop and you try to extrude again, it's going to extrude another object. And what's happening here is you're getting more lines and edges around this object as you extrude. Okay? Now, if you want to, let's say, let's go right here, extrude something else. Like, let's say we wanted to extrude the side, and we wanted to extrude, we want to click, shift click to at the same time, we can do that. That's how you select. You shift, no, you click and you shift and click something else. So you have more than one in your mouse. Okay, that's how you collect more than one thing. You shift, I mean you click and you shift. Now, if you're on like opposite sides like this, and you try to extrude, you're going to get some interesting edges, but maybe you don't want that. Now, you could use it for like certain geometry that you may be developing some kind of maybe magic oven or something that's way out. But if you just want, we're going to go back. If you just want this side and that side to do individually, extrude has this drop down right here. And what you want to do is you want to go to extrude along normals. And what will happen is it'll bring it out straight instead of sideways. Okay, let's try that again. Extrude along, and I'm going to pull it out straight. So it'll be less. Oh, but see, I stopped. And once you stop, it's going to make a whole nother section. Okay, we're going to go back and go back again. And we're going to try another one. Maybe that's not the one I was trying to get. Extrude individual. I'm sorry. A normals is different. Extrude individual. If you extrude individual, this is what happens. Then you get it. I'm sorry. But like I said, it's a beginner's class, and I have been a beginner. I've only been doing Blender for like 2 years, and I'm still learning Blender. So just buckle down for the ride. Okay. So if you want to extrude individuals, you go in here, get the drop down, and extrude individuals. But if you, the other one I was trying to talk about was extruding along normals. That would mean that we want, if I click and shift around these faces like this, shift click, shift click, shift click, and I'm gonna show you a shortcut how to get around that too. But right now, shift click, if I shift around all of these normals and I want extrude along normals, that's because that's all the way around, then they'll come out like, that's not what I was hoping for. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Did I do it right? Extrude along normals. There we go. I had the wrong one chose. Okay, it'll extrude all of the ones that's around the box. It'll extrude them all if you have them selected. Now we're gonna Control Z, and I'm gonna click outside of there. Now you notice how I was click shift to go around, but I don't have to do that. Click outside of there. If you click a face and you move over to the next face close, hold down Alt and click, it'll actually click all the faces around it. That's the same for vertices and also edges. Let me show you. If I click edges and I click, let's say, this edge, and I move over close to the next edge with my cursor, and I hold down Alt and left click, it'll click around all the way over here. It didn't go all the way around. I don't know why, but it usually should. And I click again. Let's see if it works on this edge. Usually you could get it to do it. And I do like this. Now that's only got one. I'm trying to get one that has you can go all the way around. So let's see if I can do this one. Click the edge, go over to the over here and click the next one. That's not working either. Okay, we need more geometry, and how we make geometry is with loop cuts, but we'll get to that and I'll show you what I was talking about. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of some of this. It's getting out of the way. Okay, so in order to select this entire object, we hit the A key, and you're going to either, on your machine, it's either going to select it or you're going to get this grid. Mine's is on, mine says select toggle all. I click it, or I can go up to select all and it will select the entire object. It will only select what you have in edit mode at that time. Okay, and I'm going to X this out again. I'm going to delete faces so that'll take care of everything. I don't know what that is. Let me see if I delete vertex. Will it go away? No. Well, that's probably where the origin was, so I'm not even going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to Shift S and take selection to cursor, and we should be okay. Now I want to add another object so we could keep moving with these tools over here. A lot of things I'm not going to explain because it's a beginner's class and we want to stay on point, okay? So I'm going to hit S to make it smaller. Hit G on the X to move it over. Okay. So right now I want to go to object mode. Oh, let's go back over here. Go to select, go to object mode, and I'm going to um, leave it there. I'm not gonna mess with her. We're gonna go back here to our square, and then we're gonna go back to edit mode, and we're gonna talk about inserting faces. Now we just did extrude, and remember we were on the faces, and we did extrude. But right now we're on faces. What if I don't want the extrude to be the same size as this box? The next set of tools is called inset faces. And what it does is You put your cursor inside and you either move up or down, and it should inset the face. I think I need to go back to, let's go back to the regular mode so I can see this better. Okay, so, all right, so the circle right here, you move it either left or right. Mine is going to the right. And as you can see, it's starting to inset the faces, right? Now that I inset faces, if I go back to extrude, it's on this face instead of these faces. And I can pull that up. And now the extrude is not the same size as the rest of these. Also, if we extrude along normals like we did before, if I click this, go all the way over here to the edge, hit Alt, and then click around, you notice it collected all of those, and I'm able to extrude those along the normals. We can go back to inset faces, turn the, turn the circle, and it'll inset the faces on these pieces. And then we can go back to extrude, and here we go again, making more extrudes. There is so many things you can do with Blender with these tools. Um, if you don't want your edges to be as hard as these are, and you want them to be a little more rounder, that's the next tool. It's called bevel. You go to bevel and you move your handle to the side. Now this is not a good place to bevel right here because as you can see, as you bevel, it's getting it's kind of interesting, right? Now you could go into the bevel area. Every time you add something or do something, you're going to get a parameters at the bottom of what you did. Once you move something out by using this, it's going to go away. But I wanted to affect the edges, and the offset would be the width, okay, on this one. And that kind of changed it a little bit. But what bevel does, it gives you a more rounder effect. And you can use the parameters inside of here to affect your bevel. For instance, let's do um, a edge, okay? And I'm on bevel. So let's look at it. And if I do this, see how it changes how the bevel looks? And then I go into the bevel and say I want 3 or 4 edges, segments, I mean, and see how it turned that the way it is. But because I got this all janky, it's looking kind of weird. But this is only to teach y'all how these things work along the edges, and different things that's going on. Like if I chose this and wanted to go around, I went all the way over, okay, see where I click the edge, right? Let's go closer. I went all the way over to the edge of this side. Hold down Alt and left click, and it shows everything around because it was a nice smooth area. So now I want to bevel that edge. See how that does? It beveled that one because it wasn't all like extruded and everything. And now that it beveled it, it gave me the bevel parameters, and I can choose to do 2, 3, 4, and it beveled it all the way around. See that? And that's nice and smooth, right? Okay. So that's bevel. Now loop cuts, that gives you more geometry to work with so things can move better in Blender. That's the way I look at it. Like, because if it's stiff, it's really not a whole lot you can do with your objects. Loop cuts gives you the ability to cut around. Like if I go to the edge, see that square? I click one time, click again. I move my mouse up, click again. Then I could go, like I can go down here to loop cut, and tell it how many cuts I want. Wherever you stop is where it's going to do your cuts. Okay. Now, if I'm down, I'm gonna get that one. I didn't want that one. We're gonna go Control Z. Um, I'm gonna select this loop right here by Control. I'm gonna hit Alt, go down here and left click, and it should get all of them like that. See that? And I'm gonna go back to loop cut, and I want to cut it right here. I want to cut it on this line, but it's cutting in the middle. Okay. But notice how it's cutting across, right? I'm getting all these loop cuts and they're going completely around this object. Up here, it's not really a good place to be for loop cuts because it's cutting and it's uneven. But loop cuts give you geometry, okay? Let's get rid of this so we can see what I'm talking about. Alt, Alt, X, delete faces, add, so we can have a fresh square cube. S to decrease the size, G, X to move it over and work with it. Okay, we're still on loop cuts. So I'm going to close that out and we're going to do some loop cuts. Okay, one, two, three. Okay, we're going to go one, two, three. These loop cuts is now on this side and that side, but we want them all the way around. So I'm gonna come on the other side and do one, two, three. Now we should have them everywhere. They're under and they're over. Okay. So now that we have these loop cuts, we got more geometry to work with. So when you go to use your selection, you can select either if you're on edges or you're on faces or you're on vertices. These are vertices. And I have mine's kind of big. You learn how to do that in preferences. We'll go over preferences in another video. But I have mine's kind of big. That's why they look like that. These are vertices. You can select vertices by hitting one, holding down Alt, going over to the next one, and you get a whole row by clicking. See that? Look, get all of that, right? Or if you want to just get a couple, you hold down one, you hold control and go to the one you want, and it'll just go to the ones right here. You hit your left key. I hit one. I want to go, let's say I want to go this way. I hit I hit control, my left mouse button, it'll take the shortest route. See that? Hold that one, hit click that one, hold down uh, control and tick I want to get these three. Left click, it'll only get these three. Okay? All right. If I want to go this way all the way around, I click one, hold down Alt, go to this one closest to it, and click, and it'll go all the way around. Those are vertices. For faces, I click one, hold down Alt, go over near the next one, it'll click all the way around. Okay? If I let's say I want this this row around here and then this one too. I would hold down shift, click this one, go to alt while I'm holding down shift, move my mouse over and click and it'll get I double clicked and you'll get both of these rows right here. And remember, if you want to extrude those around it like that, you will go to extrude and extrude along normals. You get your handle, and that way you can extrude either out or you can extrude in. Extrude out or in. It seems like it would make a nice little apartment building or something like that, or a table, or things like that. So let's go back to our block and come out of there. Okay. So loop cuts give us geometry that we can work with. If we go back and do some more loop cuts, we can go in between. Go there, and we can say, I want more loop cuts. Um, Even, and we could put some one right here and then put more in there, make that even. I think we put three in each one of these, and then we go right here and put some more loop cuts in there, and we go right here and put more loop cuts in there. See that? Look at all that geometry. That means that we can do all kinds of things with this cube because it has so much geometry. Okay? And if we want the geometry to go this way across, like we would have to cut, and we had to remember that it would cut all of these along with it. So you would not only have geometry long the long way, but you would have it in between each of these also. See? And that comes in handy when you're doing editing, especially clothing. You'll have more geometry to move around. So if I was to say, let's say I was to go to select, and I wanted to select um, box select. The box select does like this. It selects in a box. Notice it got the front of the box and the top of the box, but what we couldn't see, it didn't get, right? So in order to make sure we get the back, you go up here, and this is your X-ray mode. You click it, come out of there, and you can see through your box. That way, if you want to select this upper row, you'll get everything in the upper row. When you have your X-ray on, these little dots uh, tell you exactly where to stop. Like notice when let's click off of there. If I just want this top row, I should only click box select this top row. Because if I go any further down and get this one, it'll mess it up. It'll just grab everything, but everything that I don't want. But if I just select the dots that are around in this area without touching anything, it'll be even like that. Okay? It's good to use the number 1 so that things are straight when you want to select them. See, I noticed that I did the dots across, so it only selected what's right there. Now I could take, after I select that, I could take that and go to extrude and extrude just that part of my box. Middle mouse button to look around to look at it. Notice, see? It extruded just what I selected. Okay? That's why we need the see-through, the X-ray button up here so that we can see through. Another one is the wire view. You can also see, you can turn that off, and you'll see just the wire outline of your object. Okay? That's on the bodies too that we get to make clothing. A lot of my students, you will be using these bodies. And these views come in handy when you're doing weight painting and adjusting everything. So this is a good way to, like I said, when you do this, you should be in number 1, so you can see front facing. As long as you got X-ray on, you'll be able to go straight through the back. See that? Then you can middle mouse button around it to see how it looks. So let's go back to our regular shading and mouse out of there. Um, your knife tool is the next tool, right? Now this, it, it's a lot like loop cut, but it's more precise. So if I took the knife and I cut from here down here and I let go, I click one time and then hit enter. I have a cut now that's across these that a loop cut wouldn't do. Loop cuts go round things, but a knife tool can just click, click, drag, click, and enter. And now you got another cut. So you might want to be cutting up something like a dress or booty shorts or whatever. You can use the knife tool. You can go from here all the way over here. Click, and then to keep it from moving all around like that, you have to hit enter. And you got another knife cut. That's more geometry because after you cut it and go back up here to select to faces, right? All of these become their own faces now. So you've cut it up. Keep that in mind. You're cutting things up, they become their own faces. Hold down shift to pan and look at it. See? All right. Okay. Um, poly build, poly quilt, spin and smooth. I haven't really messed with anything below the knife. So we'll be stopping this right now and we'll be starting the new video part two another day. Thank you so much for stopping by and learning beginner blenders for Second Life. Have a great night.